Eli Turner wiped a streak of spilled soda from the window display of Eli's epic comics, his favorite pastime during the slow Tuesday afternoons. The store was a colorful haven nestled on a bustling city street, its windows always adorned with the latest superhero figures and vintage comic book covers. Today, however, the usual tranquility was replaced by an air of chaotic excitement. "All right, everyone. Last chance to enter the Spider-Man costume contest," Eli announced, his voice carrying a mix of enthusiasm and desperation. The store was packed with customers, ranging from eager children dressed as their favorite heroes to nostalgic adults reminiscing about their own comic book glory days. The contest was his brainchild, a spontaneous event to boost sales that, against all odds, had turned into the evening's main attraction. Eli adjusted his own Spider-Man mask, a little too tight around the edges, causing him to wince slightly. He glanced around the store, ensuring that everything was in place for the grand finale. The prize, a limited edition Spider-Verse comic book, was displayed proudly on the counter, drawing curious glances from every corner of the room. "All right, last call. 5 minutes left to enter," he repeated, trying to keep his voice steady despite the growing excitement. Just as he was about to take a step back and let the contestants gather for the final round, a sudden commotion erupted near the back of the store. A young boy, no older than 10, was pointing frantically at something crawling along the floor. "Look! A real spider!" he exclaimed, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. Eli's heart skipped a beat. He had meticulously planned this event, but a real spider wasn't part of the script. "Everyone, stay calm. It's probably just a harmless spider," he reassured the crowd, trying to mask his own unease, but the spider was no ordinary arachnid. It was large, its legs moving with an unnerving speed, and its coloration shimmered in the store's fluorescent lighting. Before Eli could react, the creature darted towards the display shelf, causing a cascade of action figures to topple over in a domino effect. The room erupted into chaos as customers scrambled to avoid the falling merchandise. Eli dove behind the counter, his mind racing. This was a disaster. Just as he was about to regain his composure, the spider made a beeline for him, its mandibles clicking ominously. In a split-second decision, Eli reached out to shoo it away, his hand meeting the creature with a sharp smack. Pain shot through his arm as the spider bit him. He yelped, startling everyone into a momentary silence before the store erupted into nervous laughter and chatter. Eli's arm felt oddly warm, and he glanced down to see subtle changes starting to take place. His fingers felt more flexible, the joints slightly different, almost extra. Guys? I think that spider bit me," he admitted, trying to keep his voice steady despite the bizarre sensation coursing through his body. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some people looked concerned, while others couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of the situation. Eli's best friend, Maya, rushed to his side, her eyes wide with worry. "Eli, are you okay? That spider looked different." He nodded, though a strange tingling sensation lingered in his arm. "Yeah, I think so. Maybe it was just a regular spider, right?" But as the minutes passed, Eli began to notice more changes. His vision sharpened, colors became more vibrant, and his senses felt heightened. He could hear the distant hum of traffic outside and the faint buzz of fluorescent lights overhead. It was exhilarating, yet unnerving. "Maya, something feels off," he confessed, staring at his transformed hand. The fingers were more dexterous, almost prehensile, allowing him to grip the counter firmly. "I think this bite did something." Maya frowned, concern etched on her face. "We need to get you to a doctor. This could be serious." Before Eli could respond, a loud crash echoed from the front of the store. Turning towards the source, he saw that the escaped spider had orchestrated a full-blown disaster. Shelves were overturned, comics were scattered everywhere, and customers were slipping and sliding on the mess. Eli took a deep breath, his mind racing with a mix of fear and adrenaline. Without thinking, he sprang into action, using his newfound agility to navigate the chaos. He moved with a grace that felt both foreign and natural, swiftly helping customers avoid falling merchandise and directing them toward safety. As he moved through the store, Eli felt an inexplicable connection to the spider. Every motion seemed instinctual, every decision swift and precise. He couldn't deny that his abilities were helping to mitigate the disaster, but at what cost? By the time the police and pest control arrived to handle the situation, Eli's Epic Comics was in shambles, but no one was seriously hurt. Customers were evacuating, some applauding Eli's quick actions, while others remained bewildered by the entire ordeal. Eli stood amidst the wreckage, his heart pounding. He glanced down at his arm again, noticing subtle changes that went beyond mere flexibility. There were slight ridges where his joints should be, and his eyes seemed to reflect the store's fluorescent lights with an unnatural clarity. What just happened? He muttered to himself, rubbing his arm where the spider had bitten him. Maya approached, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "You did great, Eli. You really helped everyone." He managed a weak smile. "Yeah, but something's definitely different." As the last of the customers filtered out, Eli took a moment to assess the damage. The store looked like a battlefield, but amidst the chaos, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The spider's bite had unlocked something within him, something powerful but potentially dangerous. Later that night, Eli sat in his cluttered office, surrounded by piles of comic books and memorabilia. He stared at his reflection in the mirror, examining the subtle changes in his appearance. His hands, once ordinary, now had an almost skeletal flexibility, and his eyes gleamed with an intense, almost predatory light. "Maya was right," he whispered, a mix of excitement and fear swirling within him. "I need to figure out what's happening." His phone buzzed, interrupting his thoughts. It was a message from Maya. "How are you feeling? Still weird after today?" He hesitated before replying, the weight of his new reality pressing down on him. "I'm okay, I think. Need to look into what that spider was." As he sent the message, Eli couldn't help but think back to the store. The chaos, the spider, the inexplicable surge of power, it all felt like the opening scene of a comic book, one he had never imagined he would star in. The following days were a blur of confusion and discovery. Eli tried to go about his daily routine, but his altered body made even the simplest tasks challenging. His extra joints gave him an unusual flexibility, but they also caused pain and discomfort. Every time he used his abilities, the changes became more pronounced. He noticed an extra eye developing in his forehead, granting him a wider field of vision but also making him look increasingly otherworldly. Eli spent hours researching, diving into scientific journals and obscure forums, trying to understand the nature of his transformation. The more he learned, the more he realized that his situation was far from ordinary. The spider that bit him was no common creature. It was genetically modified, possibly part of a secret experiment gone wrong. One evening, as Eli sat hunched over his computer, a news report caught his attention. The anchor was discussing a series of strange incidents across the city: spiders acting unusually aggressive, reports of unexplained phenomena, and a rising sense of unease among the populace. Eli's heart raced. Could his transformation be connected to these events? He needed answers, and fast. Determined to uncover the truth, Eli decided to visit the source of the genetically modified spider. His research led him to an abandoned research facility on the outskirts of the city, a place rumored to house unethical experiments and forgotten projects. Under the cover of darkness, Eli made his way to the facility, his enhanced senses guiding him through the shadows. The building loomed ominously, its windows shattered and walls covered in graffiti. He approached cautiously, every step calculated to avoid detection. Inside, the facility was a maze of empty corridors and decaying laboratories. Eli moved silently, his extra joints allowing him to navigate tight spaces with ease. He reached the main lab, the heart of the spider experiments, now long abandoned. Dust-covered equipment and broken glass littered the room, remnants of a time when ambition and obsession had driven scientists to push the boundaries of nature. Eli scanned the area, searching for any clues that might explain his condition. In the corner, he found a journal, its pages yellowed and brittle. Carefully, he picked it up, blowing off the layers of dust. The handwriting was hurried, almost frantic, detailing experiments on spider genetics and attempts to enhance their abilities for military purposes. As Eli read, a sense of dread washed over him. The final entry was incomplete, interrupted by what seemed like an urgent note. It mentioned a catastrophic failure, a desperate attempt to control the rapidly evolving spiders, and a warning about unforeseen consequences. Eli realized that he was not just a victim of an experiment gone wrong but also part of something much larger. The irreversible changes in his body were a testament to the dangerous interplay between human ambition and nature's resilience. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the facility, a faint scuttling sound that sent chills down Eli's spine. He turned to see the genetically modified spider, now grown even larger, its multifaceted eyes gleaming in the dim light. It moved with a purpose, seemingly aware of Eli's presence. Before he could react, the spider lunged, its legs moving with uncanny speed. Eli dodged, using his enhanced agility to avoid the creature's strike. The battle was on, a clash between man and spider, each move a testament to their transformed natures. As the fight raged, Eli began to understand the true cost of his powers. Every time he used his abilities to defend himself, the physical changes became more severe. His joints twisted into new configurations, granting him greater flexibility but also causing immense pain. His extra eye provided unparalleled vision but made his appearance increasingly alien. In the end, Eli managed to outmaneuver the spider, subduing it with a combination of strategy and instinct. As the creature lay defeated, Eli felt a surge of exhaustion. The fight had taken its toll, both physically and mentally. He knew that every action he took to protect others would further alter his body, pushing him closer to an irreversible transformation. Breathing heavily, Eli left the facility, the weight of his choices pressing down on him. He realized that he was now faced with a dilemma: continue using his powers to save the city, knowing the personal cost, or retreat into obscurity to preserve his humanity. Back at his store, Eli sat alone, reflecting on the events that had unfolded. Maya and Lena, his protective sister, had noticed his changes and were growing increasingly concerned. Detective Samira Reyes, a new acquaintance with a keen eye for unusual occurrences, had begun to suspect that Eli was more than just a comic book store owner. As the city grappled with the mysterious surge of spider-related incidents, Eli stood at the crossroads of heroism and self-preservation. The allure of saving lives clashed with the fear of losing himself to the very power that had been thrust upon him. Eli knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges, both external and internal. The balance between protecting the city and safeguarding his own humanity was delicate, and any misstep could tip the scales into chaos. But one thing was clear: Eli Turner was no longer just a quirky comic book enthusiast. He had become something more, something that could change the fate of the city he loved. And with that realization came the weight of responsibility, a burden he was only beginning to understand. As he stared out the window of his store, watching the city lights flicker in the night, Eli made a silent promise to himself. He would navigate this new reality, embracing the powers that had been both a gift and a curse. The cost was steep, but the price of inaction was far greater, and so, with determination in his heart and uncertainty in his mind, Eli Turner took his first steps into the role he was destined to play: a guardian hidden in the shadows, balancing the fine line between heroism and self-destruction. Eli Turner couldn't shake the weight of his decision as he sat behind the counter of Eli's Epic Comics. The city outside pulsed with life, unaware of the silent guardian that now walked its streets. The neon lights from the storefronts cast colorful reflections on his altered features, making his extra eye glimmer with a strange intensity. He rubbed his temples, feeling the lingering ache from his latest transformation, and glanced around his store, which now felt both familiar and alien to him. Maya burst through the door, her face a mix of concern and excitement. "Eli, you've been holed up here for hours. Are you okay? We're all worried about you." He offered a weary smile. "I'm fine, Maya. Just trying to figure some things out." She approached, her eyes scanning his transformed appearance before settling on his expression. "You look different. Is everything all right?" Eli sighed, leaning back against the counter. Different is an understatement. Every time I use my powers, my body changes more. It's getting harder to manage. Maya nodded sympathetically. Have you talked to Lena about this? Maybe she can help. Before Eli could respond, the sound of the door chime signaled another customer's entry. Detective Samira Reyes stepped into the store, her sharp eyes taking in the scene immediately. She approached the counter, her presence commanding yet approachable. Eli Turner, right? I'm Detective Reyes, she introduced herself, extending a hand. Eli shook it, feeling the firmness in her grip. I've been hearing some unusual reports about spider activity around the city. Thought I'd see if you might have any insights. Eli's heart skipped a beat. Spider activity? What kind of reports? Samira glanced around, lowering her voice slightly. There have been instances of aggressive spider behavior, disruptions in the subway systems, and even a few missing persons cases linked to what witnesses describe as spider-like creatures. It's all very strange. Eli leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. That sounds related to the spider that bit me. I think it was genetically modified, part of some kind of experiment. Samira raised an eyebrow. You were bitten by a spider? That's quite a coincidence, considering the reports we're getting. Do you think there's a connection? He hesitated, the truth of his situation weighing heavily on him. I don't know yet, but it's possible. I'm still trying to understand what's happening to me. Samira nodded thoughtfully. Well, if you have any information or if your powers can help, I'd like to discuss it further. We could use someone with your unique abilities. Eli felt a flicker of hope. I want to help, but I need to be careful. Every time I use my powers, I change more, and it's not without consequences. Samira smiled reassuringly. We understand the risks. But right now, the city needs every bit of help it can get. Let's work together to get to the bottom of this. As Samira left the store, Eli felt a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps aligning with the police was the way to go, providing structure and support as he navigated his new reality. He glanced around at his comic book store, a place that had always been his sanctuary, and realized it was now also his base of operations. That night, Eli couldn't sleep. His mind raced with possibilities and fears. He thought about Lena, his protective sister who had always been skeptical of his superhero fantasies. If anyone could help him understand his transformations, it was her. The following morning, Eli made his way to Lena's apartment. The walk was more challenging now, his extra joints making each step a reminder of the cost of his powers. Lena answered the door, her eyes widening at the sight of him. Eli? What happened to you? He stepped inside, the familiar scent of her home offering a small comfort. We need to talk. They sat in the living room, the tension between them palpable. Lena had always been the pragmatic one, the anchor in their family. I've noticed you've been different. Are you sure you're okay? Eli took a deep breath. I've been bitten by a genetically modified spider. It gave me abilities, but every time I use them, my body changes more. I'm trying to control it, but it's getting harder. Lena's eyes softened with concern. Have you told anyone else? What about Maya or Samira? I talked to Maya. She's been supportive. And Samira Reyes from the police is interested in working with me, Eli explained. Lena leaned back, processing the information. This is a lot, Eli. Are you sure you want to take on this responsibility? It could put you in danger. He reached out, placing a hand on her shoulder. I don't have a choice. The city needs help, and I want to do what I can. But I need you to understand and support me. She sighed, the weight of his words sinking in. All right. I want to help you, but we need to be careful. Let's figure out what's happening together. Eli felt a surge of gratitude. With Lena's support, he felt a bit more equipped to handle the challenges ahead. They spent the afternoon going through his research, trying to piece together the origins of the genetically modified spider. Lena's analytical mind complemented Eli's more creative approach, and together they uncovered more about the abandoned research facility he had visited. As days turned into weeks, Eli and Lena became a formidable team. They delved deeper into the mystery, uncovering the extent of the experiments conducted at the facility. It became clear that the project had been a clandestine government operation aimed at enhancing spider genetics for military purposes. The failure of the project had led to the creation of highly intelligent, aggressive spiders that were now wreaking havoc across the city. Eli's powers continued to evolve, each use bringing more drastic changes. His extra joints allowed him to perform feats of agility and strength, but the pain and the physical alterations were taking their toll. He found himself becoming more spider-like, both in appearance and instincts. The line between human and arachnid was blurring, and Eli struggled to maintain his humanity. One evening, as Eli and Lena pored over documents in his store, Maya walked in, her expression a mix of excitement and worry. "I've been talking to some of the regulars, and there are more reports coming in. It's not just spiders anymore, they're coordinating attacks, almost like they have a hive mind." Eli frowned, the implications unsettling him. "This is bigger than we thought. We need to find out who's behind this." Maya nodded. "I've been trying to track down any connections between the incidents, but it's like they're operating in the shadows. Maybe Samira can help. She seems to have some leads." Eli agreed, feeling the urgency of their mission. "I'll reach out to her. We need all the help we can get." That night, Eli couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He glanced around his store, sensing movement in the shadows. His extra eye flickered, catching the slightest movement out of the corner of his vision. Without thinking, he swung around, using his enhanced agility to intercept a figure attempting to enter through a back window. The intruder was cloaked in darkness, but Eli could see the glint of metal as they brandished a weapon. "Who are you? What do you want?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The figure hesitated, then spoke with a menacing edge. "We're here to ensure the project doesn't fall into the wrong hands." Eli recognized the insignia on the attacker's jacket, the same emblem from the research facility. His heart pounded as he realized they were dealing with remnants of the original experiment team, determined to contain their failure at any cost. Without warning, the attacker lunged, and Eli instinctively used his spider-like reflexes to dodge the blow. The fight was intense, a blur of movement and instinctual combat. Eli's enhanced strength and agility gave him the upper hand, but each movement caused his body to shift further, the transformations becoming more pronounced. With a final, decisive move, Eli subdued the attacker, disarming them and pinning them to the ground. Breathing heavily, he looked down at the defeated figure, his extra eye reflecting a mix of triumph and exhaustion. "Who sent you? What's your endgame?" The attacker spat defiantly. "You don't understand the power you're dealing with. The Weaver is back, and he won't stop until he controls everything." Eli's mind raced. The Weaver, a name that had surfaced in his research as the mastermind behind the spider experiments. If the Weaver was orchestrating these attacks, then the threat was far greater than he had imagined. As he stood up, Eli felt a surge of determination. "Where is he? What does he want?" The attacker sneered. "You'll find out soon enough. Just know that we're watching you. Don't make the same mistakes we did." Before Eli could extract more information, the intruder triggered a device, causing the room to flicker with lights and the sound of alarms to blare. Realizing the danger, Eli acted quickly, using his powers to secure the scene and prevent further attacks. He couldn't let the Weaver gain any more control over the city. In the days that followed, Eli, Lena, and Maya worked tirelessly to piece together the puzzle. Samira became an invaluable ally, providing insights from the police's perspective and helping to coordinate their efforts. Together, they uncovered that the Weaver was planning a massive attack that would deploy an army of genetically modified spiders to take over key infrastructures in the city. Eli's transformations continued unabated. His body was now unmistakably altered, with multiple extra joints and an additional eye that gave him a panoramic view of his surroundings. While his powers were growing stronger, the pain and the loss of his humanity were becoming harder to bear. He struggled with his identity, torn between his desire to protect the city and the fear of losing himself completely. One night, as Eli patrolled the rooftops, he encountered a group of the modified spiders attempting to breach a power plant. The sight was horrifying: rows of spiders moving in unison, their eyes glowing with an eerie intelligence. Eli knew this was just the beginning of the Weaver's plan. He swung into action, using his enhanced abilities to dismantle the spider forces. The battle was fierce, each encounter pushing his transformations to the limit. As he fought, Eli couldn't help but think about the personal cost. His body was no longer entirely his own, each use of his powers etching him further into something other than human. After the fight, Eli collapsed onto the rooftop, the city sprawling out below him. Lena and Maya found him, along with Samira, who had been monitoring the situation from the police headquarters. "You need to rest," Lena insisted, her voice filled with concern. Eli shook his head, determination burning in his eyes. "We can't stop now. The Weaver is planning something bigger, and we need to be ready." Samira stepped forward, her expression resolute. "We've gathered intel that the Weaver is targeting the central subway hub. If he succeeds, it could cripple the entire city. We need to move fast." Eli nodded, steeling himself for the confrontation ahead. "Then let's get to work. We need to find him before it's too late." The team devised a plan to infiltrate the Weaver's hideout, located in the old research facility Eli had visited earlier. They knew it would be a risky mission, but it was the only way to prevent the impending catastrophe. As they prepared, Eli felt the weight of his responsibility pressing down on him. Every decision he made could mean the difference between saving the city and losing himself entirely. On the night of the planned attack, the city was eerily quiet. The central subway hub was buzzing with activity, unaware of the danger lurking beneath. Eli, Lena, Maya, and Samira approached the facility, their movements synchronized and precise. The Weaver's minions were patrolling the perimeter, but Eli's enhanced senses allowed them to avoid detection. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of corridors and darkened rooms. The team moved cautiously, using their combined skills to navigate the maze. Eli's extra joints and agility proved invaluable as he scaled walls and disabled traps set by the Weaver's forces. The tension was palpable, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the operation. Finally, they reached the main control room, where the Weaver awaited them. He stood confidently, surrounded by advanced technology and a horde of genetically modified spiders. His presence was commanding, exuding a sense of power and control. "You've come a long way, Eli," the Weaver began, his voice smooth and calculated. "But you're too late. The transformation has already begun, and soon the entire city will be under my control." Eli stepped forward, his altered form a stark contrast to the Weaver's composed demeanor. "You won't get away with this. I won't let you harm the city." The Weaver chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down Eli's spine. "Harm? I'm offering evolution. Embrace your true potential, Eli. Join me, and together we can create a new world order." Eli's mind raced, the words echoing the internal conflict he had been grappling with. The allure of power was tempting, especially as his own abilities continued to grow, but he knew the price was too high. "I'd rather lose myself than become part of your twisted vision." With that, the confrontation escalated into a fierce battle. The Weaver unleashed his spiders, swarming Eli and the team with relentless force. Eli fought with everything he had, his body moving with a combination of human strategy and spider-like instincts. Each strike, each movement pushed his transformations further, the pain becoming almost unbearable. Lena and Maya worked together to disable the technology powering the Weaver's operations, while Samira coordinated with the police to contain the chaos outside. The fight was intense, a clash of ideologies and wills. Eli faced the Weaver directly, their powers colliding in a display of raw strength and determination. As the battle reached its peak, the Weaver revealed his true identity: Dr. Marcus Vance, Eli's former mentor at the research facility. The revelation hit Eli hard, memories of their time together flooding his mind. Marcus had been a visionary, pushing the boundaries of science, but his ambition had led him down a dark path. Why, Marcus? We could have done this together, Eli pleaded, trying to reach the man he once admired. Marcus's eyes gleamed with a mix of madness and conviction. You were always the promising one, Eli. The potential was too great to waste. Now, together, we can achieve true greatness. Eli felt a pang of sorrow but steeled himself. I can't let you do this. It's not worth the cost. With a final, desperate move, Eli summoned all his strength, channeling his powers into a decisive strike. The impact was immense, sending shockwaves through the room. Marcus staggered, his control over the spiders wavering. Eli seized the moment, using his enhanced agility to disable the remaining threats. As the dust settled, Eli stood victorious but exhausted. The Weaver lay defeated, his plans thwarted. The team quickly secured the facility, ensuring that no further threats remained. The immediate danger was over, but the cost was evident in Eli's transformed body. Back at the store, Eli took a moment to reflect on the events that had transpired. The city was safe, but he couldn't ignore the irreversible changes he had undergone. Lena and Maya stood by his side, offering unwavering support, while Samira assured him that the police would help manage the aftermath. Eli looked around at his comic book store, now a symbol of his journey from an ordinary man to a reluctant hero. He realized that his path wasn't just about saving the city, it was also about accepting the changes within himself and finding a balance between his humanity and his newfound powers. In the weeks that followed, Eli adapted to his new reality. He continued to use his abilities to protect the city, but he did so with a deeper understanding of the personal sacrifices involved. His relationships with Lena, Maya, and Samira grew stronger, each person playing a crucial role in his journey. One evening, as Eli closed up the store, he found himself standing before the window, watching the city lights flicker in the night. The reflections on his extra eye shimmered, a reminder of the path he had chosen. He thought about the balance between power and personal cost, the responsibility he now bore, and the identity he was still discovering. A gentle breeze swept through the open door, carrying with it the sounds of the city. Eli took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his decisions and the hope for the future. He knew that challenges would continue to arise, but he was ready to face them, embracing both the strengths and the sacrifices that came with his powers. As he turned to lock the door, a faint web-like pattern shimmered briefly on the glass, a symbol of his journey and the intricate web of choices that had led him here. Eli smiled, a mix of determination and acceptance in his eyes. He was ready to navigate this new reality, understanding that true heroism wasn't just about saving others but also about preserving oneself. And so, Eli Turner continued his journey, a guardian hidden in the shadows, balancing the fine line between heroism and self-destruction. The city remained unaware of the silent protector among them, but Eli knew that his role was far from over. With each step, he embraced the cost of the spider, finding strength in his transformation and purpose in his sacrifice. As the nights passed, Eli became more adept at managing his powers, finding ways to mitigate the pain and control the transformations. He worked closely with Samira, sharing insights and strategies to combat the remaining threats. Their collaboration deepened, blending their strengths and forging a bond built on trust and mutual respect. One evening, while strategizing with Samira in his store, Eli received a call that sent a chill down his spine. "We have a new development," Samira said, her voice tense. "There's been a sighting of a massive spider swarm approaching the downtown financial district. It's moving too strategically to be random." Eli nodded, his mind already racing through possible defenses. "I'll handle it. Let's meet at the location in 30 minutes. As he prepared to leave, Lena and Maya looked at him with a mixture of pride and worry. "Be careful, Eli," Lena urged. "We're counting on you." He gave them a reassuring smile. "I will. Thanks for everything." The financial district was already in chaos, with people running in all directions as the swarm descended upon the area. Eli moved swiftly, his body responding instinctively to the threat. The spiders were unlike any he had encountered before, organized, almost tactical in their movements. It was clear that the weaver had left behind residual control mechanisms, directing the spiders with a purpose. Eli began to dismantle the swarm, using his agility to dodge attacks and his strength to neutralize the spiders. Each encounter pushed his abilities further, his body adapting and changing in real time. He could feel the transformations taking their toll, but he pushed through the pain, driven by the need to protect the city he loved. As he fought, Eli noticed a familiar pattern in the spider's movements, an echo of the weaver's strategies. It was a reminder that the battle was far from over, that remnants of the original plan still lingered. Determined to end it once and for all, Eli intensified his efforts, focusing on the source of the swarm's coordination. In the midst of the chaos, Samira arrived, coordinating the police response and providing tactical support. "Eli, we need to find the control hub," she shouted over the noise. "There must be a central point directing the swarm." Eli nodded, understanding the urgency. He used his enhanced senses to track the flow of energy emanating from the swarm, leading him to an underground control station beneath the financial district. The entrance was heavily guarded by spiders, each one more formidable than the last. With Samira's assistance, Eli devised a plan to infiltrate the control hub. They moved with precision, disabling the guards and making their way deeper into the facility. The air was thick with tension, the hum of technology and the scuttling of spiders filling the space. Finally, they reached the central control room, where a sophisticated array of equipment monitored and directed the swarm. Eli approached the main console, recognizing the hallmarks of the weaver's technology. As he began to disable the system, a familiar voice echoed through the chamber, "Impressive, Eli. But you're too late." Eli spun around to see a shadowy figure emerging from the darkness, another manifestation of the weaver's influence. This version of Marcus Vance was different, more advanced, a fusion of human intellect and spider-like enhancements. His presence was both menacing and awe-inspiring. "You can't stop evolution, Eli," Marcus declared, his eyes gleaming with determination. "We're on the brink of a new era, and you're just a relic of the past." Eli stepped forward, his resolve unshaken. "Not if I can help it. I won't let you endanger the city." Marcus smirked, launching into a coordinated attack with his enhanced spiders. The room erupted into a fierce battle, the clash of their powers echoing through the chamber. Eli fought with every ounce of strength and skill he possessed, his body shifting and adapting to counter Marcus's tactics. As the fight intensified, Eli felt his transformations reaching a critical point. His body was now a seamless blend of human and spider, each movement a testament to his sacrifice and determination. He could feel the final stages of his transformation taking hold, his humanity slipping further away with each use of his powers, but Eli refused to give up. He drew upon his deepest reserves of strength, pushing through the pain and embracing the full extent of his abilities. With a final, decisive strike, he disabled the control hub, severing Marcus's influence over the swarm. Marcus staggered, his form flickering between human and spider-like. "This isn't over, Eli," he spat before dissolving into the shadows, his presence fading with the loss of control. Eli stood amidst the remnants of the battle, the control hub now silent. He had won, but the victory came at a steep cost. His body was now almost entirely transformed, a true hybrid of human and spider. The pain was excruciating, but he felt a sense of completion, a final acceptance of his new identity. Samira approached, her expression a mix of relief and concern. "It's over, Eli. You did it." Eli nodded, the weight of his journey pressing down on him. "Yes, but I've changed more than anyone could have imagined." Lena and Maya arrived shortly after, their faces reflecting the mix of emotions that Eli felt. They approached him with a mixture of awe and compassion, understanding the depth of his sacrifice. "We're proud of you," Lena said softly. "You saved the city, Eli." But we need to make sure you're okay. Eli managed a faint smile. I think I'm starting to understand my place now. It's not about preserving who I was, but embracing who I've become and using it to protect others. As the team left the control hub, Eli felt a sense of peace. The city was safe, and he had fulfilled his role as its protector. But his journey was far from over. With his new form and abilities, he had become something more than human, a guardian who would continue to watch over the city, balancing the fine line between heroism and self-destruction. In the days that followed, Eli embraced his new reality. He continued to run his comic book store, a front for his vigilantism, blending his passion for comics with his responsibilities as a protector. The store became a hub for information and planning, a place where he and his team could strategize and prepare for any future threats. Eli's relationship with Samira deepened, their professional collaboration evolving into a strong partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. They worked closely to monitor any residual threats and to ensure that no remnants of the Weaver's plans remained. Lena and Maya remained his pillars of support, helping him navigate the complexities of his transformed existence. One evening, as Eli was closing up the store, he found himself staring at a new comic book display he had created. The centerpiece was a figure that bore a striking resemblance to himself, a symbol of his journey and the sacrifices he had made. He couldn't help but smile, seeing his story mirrored in the fictional hero he had always admired. As he locked the door and stepped into the night, Eli felt a sense of purpose and acceptance. He was no longer just Eli Turner, the quirky comic book store owner. He was something more, a symbol of resilience and sacrifice, ready to face whatever challenges the future held. The city thrived under his watchful eye, unaware of the silent protector that walked among them. Eli continued to balance his dual life, finding strength in his transformed self and solace in the relationships he had built. The cost of the spider had been high, but it had forged him into a hero the city desperately needed, and so, Eli Turner embraced his destiny, navigating the intricate web of responsibilities and personal sacrifices with unwavering determination. The journey was far from over, but with each step, he found a deeper understanding of his role and the true meaning of heroism. Eli glanced up at the night sky, the stars twinkling above as if acknowledging his presence. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze against his altered form, and knew that no matter the cost, he would continue to protect the city he called home. The balance between power and sacrifice was delicate, but Eli was ready to walk that line, understanding that true heroism was defined not by the powers one possessed, but by the courage to face the consequences of their actions. As he made his way through the city streets, Eli felt a sense of harmony between his human past and his spider-like present. The transformations that once felt like a curse were now a source of strength, enabling him to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. He had found his purpose, not despite his changes, but because of them. The nights were filled with challenges and battles, each one a testament to Eli's resilience and commitment. He became a legend in the shadows, a guardian that inspired hope and fear in equal measure. The city thrived under his watchful eye, growing stronger with each passing day. Eli's story was one of transformation, sacrifice, and unwavering dedication. He had faced unimaginable changes and emerged as a hero, understanding that the true cost of power was not measured in physical alterations, but in the willingness to embrace responsibility and protect what mattered most. As the years passed, Eli's legend only grew, inspiring others to find their own strengths and to stand up against adversity. He became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, one person's courage could make a difference. And so, Eli Turner continued his journey, a guardian of the night, balancing the fine line between heroism and self-destruction. The cost of the spider had shaped him into something extraordinary, and he embraced his role with pride and determination, knowing that the city was safe because of his sacrifices.